Hello and welcome to Tutorial Tuesday. I received a question. I tend to over-render when doing digital art. Would love any general digital art tips and how to approach it. This is a really good question. Over-rendering tends to happen when you're not exactly excited or satisfied with the render that you already have. And then you try to add more onto it, which ends up being where it's kind of just overworked, unnatural, and then you just don't like it even more. So I'm going to just show you basically how I render and what I use, like digital art tools that I use to render. I'm going to show you digitally, but first I want to just go over the list of things that you can do. First and foremost, extremely important, plan out your lights and shadows. For instance, a good example is right here in real life. Light is obviously coming from this side and shadow is coming from this side. It's so important to plan out your lights and shadows because it will make it a little bit less murky and then you'll have a solid plan. 2, when you have a base layer of just your skin tone, always make your lights and shadows on a different layer so you can manipulate those layers individually or separately. 3, work your way up from just big blobs of color in general areas to more specific details or different colors in different areas. And lastly, just take your time, honestly. Rendering does take a lot of time, so taking specific breaks is really important. Plus, you can always manipulate each layer differently when you come back to it, and that's why it's so important to make sure everything is on a different layer. So now that I've said all that, what does that mean? What does it look like? How can I do that on a canvas, on Procreate, or another different digital software? Let me show you. As you can see here, I have my layers and a duplicate copy of the same image. And I have my layers just base color, no anything else, on separate layers. In order to have a good contrast, I will be leaving this as is and then rendering this one. As you can see, I just have the base layers and nothing else. Let's start with the skin. I'm going to make sure that I have 2 layers for lights and shadows. You can label it too. I don't usually label it. That's probably more organized if you do, but this way works as well. On the layer that's going to be your light side, I like to draw a little sun where the light is going to be shining, just to give myself a mental note that light is coming from this way. Let's start with the shadows. On this layer that's my shadows, I am going to go here and just click it if it's Procreate. I know it's different for some other art softwares, and I'm going to do clipping mask right above my base skin color. This allows me to only draw on whatever is below that and nothing else. And we're gonna start off small. We're gonna just do blobs of color in the general areas I think would have shadows. Kind of like this. They're not specific, you don't have to be specific right now. Just kind of like a map, showcasing all the places that would have shadow. I go to my lights, and I pick a lighter color than that base color. And again, I'm not specific. I'm just gonna map out where I think my lights are. Not being specific with the shape either. Just where I think my lights will be. Make sure that it is also clipped as well to the base skin. Don't feel any pressure about it looking good at this stage. It is not meant to. Around my lights, I like to make kind of like this vibrant color, like an orange, especially if it's like sunshine. And I basically just kind of go around where the lights are on the skin. Not accurately, kind of just basic color around these swatches. Like so. Making sure that you're on the lights layer. Go up to the very top with adjustments and go Gaussian blur. Once we're done with that, it is important to note that when shadows are closer to the face, they are a little bit darker and a little bit less blended. So when we do our shadows, I like to always make a different brush and then do some little bit wisps of shadow of where I want kind of the hair to stand out and pop out. You don't have to do it very much either. It's just something subtle. Mapping out, ooh, not like that, smaller. Mapping out our shadows some more and parts that we really want. We're gonna do the same thing eventually as what we did with the lights. Now that we got our shadows, making sure that we're still on the shadows layer, we're gonna go and do the same thing with adjustments and do Gaussian blur. And we're gonna blur it very subtly, maybe 2, 3, 5%. And that makes kind of more softer shadows that are a little bit more blended. Now that we have our shadows and our lights and our base on different layers, we can now edit in any way that we want our lights and shadows. If our lights are a little bit too heavy and we want them kind of more subtle, we can turn down the opacity. Or if we want, we can alpha lock so that only what is on that layer can be edited and nothing else, not even the base layer. We can add fun colors to certain parts of it. We can mess with the filters if we'd like. Same with the shadows. We can edit the shadows differently and separately. We're gonna repeat this process for the hair as well. Make a layer, clip it. Plan out our dark areas, just blobs, nothing special. Gaussian blur for both. And then done for the very basic rendering. After we get this part done, we can work on specific small details that we'd like. Perhaps maybe lighter colors for our lights, only in specific areas. And then of course the same for our dark area. And then of course same for the skin. If you would like freckles, different colors, more deep purples, you can edit all those layers separately. And to go over it again, the only tools that I used for Procreate, of course, were specific brushes, but clipping mask, layers of course, alpha lock, and up here, Gaussian blur. And of course, experiment, have fun with it. Just make sure that you're taking your time, sitting back and analyzing what you really want to do with this piece and what do you want to render, what do you not want to render, and etc., etc. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I hope this helped. Bye!